Hi everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're located. My name is Dorothy Dalton, and today we're going to talk about how to create a networking strategy as part of our Struggling and Juggling program. And you can see that's a very apt demographic because it's part of the job search puzzle. We're going to talk about how to hone your networking skills. We're going to do a little recap of the sessions to date because we really need to make sure the basics are anchored. We're going to talk about gender differences in networking because there are some, and men and women can learn from each other. We're going to talk about creating a basic networking strategy. But above all, we're going to talk about online networking because it's really important during COVID. And the most important thing is that we want everyone to be safe. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dorothy Dalton, and I'm the founder of 3 Plus. And 3 Plus works in supporting organizations to have gender balanced, diverse and inclusive workplaces. And we do this through a series of services, executive search, coaching, training, mentoring and consulting. We also support individuals to reach their potential, whatever that might be and wherever you are in your career. So let's just go over some of the basics really quickly. One of the things that you've heard me talk about is the importance of being anchored. Okay, really, really important. You need to know your goals, your values, your vision. You need to understand your strengths, your personal development needs, and your transferable skills. And as Mark Twain said, if you don't know where you're going, every direction will get you there. So please go back and check that first session where we go through how to do this in a systematic way. Now, definition of networking is the cultivation of productive, okay, and note that I have highlighted that, productive relationships for employment or business. And it can also be for personal reasons, but we're focusing on employment and business today, although increasingly it's becoming difficult to separate the personal from employment and business. So it's really important to do that. And as someone who's worked in the career coaching field for way before it became, a thing and fashionable, I have worked with people who would rather have their teeth pulled without an anesthetic or drink battery acid than network with someone they don't know. And I'm not saying that I've got the magic sauce. There is no magic sauce. But what I will do is I will give you some tips to take the pain out of it. Okay, so there's no such thing as no work networking, but I can make it easier for you. So why is it important? Okay, and it's all about your personal brand and your visibility. Okay, and the personal brand is who are you, what makes you special, and where and how do you add value? And then how to communicate that to the right audience. So it's who do I know? And these are people who can help you and mentor you. And who knows me? So these are the people that will be your sponsors. Now let's talk very briefly about gender differences in networking. So women are what's called multiplex networkers, and that suggests that we are relationship builders. So we know that we like to build relationships, whereas men tend to be more transactional, and so they are not afraid going for what I call the big ask. Women tend to be much, much slower, and sometimes they don't do that. They don't make that big ask. And the other thing that's a big gender difference is that men make friends from business acquaintances, but women are reluctant to do business with friends. Okay, so somehow in between, we have to make this work. So one of the things that I like to tell people is to make networking part of your daily routine. So it's a bit like having your legs waxed. 1 minute your legs look terrible. You make an appointment to go to the beauty parlor. You get it done. It hurts like hell. Legs look fab for a few weeks, 6 weeks, a couple of months, doesn't matter. And then you've got to go back and do it all again. And for those who would accuse me of not being gender neutral, this is for the gentleman who might eventually watch this podcast. Now, the other thing to take into account is you don't wait for an emergency to reach out to your network. You can't fix your roof when it's raining. There is nothing more annoying than having someone you haven't clapped eyes on for 10 years out of the blue coming to you and asking you for a favor. So this is why it's really, really important to keep on doing this as you go along. And I'm going to give you some really quick daily tips, which take 10 minutes a day. You just like getting your legs right, or putting on your makeup, or brushing your hair, brushing your teeth. You just make sure that you do it every day. So this is what's involved in creating a networking strategy. So you've got your goals, right? You know what your goals are. You have got some target companies or target sectors. So you've got your list of 20. I don't believe in being overambitious. Start small and grow. So choose 20 companies, decide where you would like to work. Set up alerts for news and information from LinkedIn, from Google, so that you know what's going on in these companies. Then you have a plan. How do you go about having a plan? Well, you look on LinkedIn and you can go on the company page and you can find out who works there. And you can find out who you need to know that will help you gather more information. And at this point, you are not directly looking for a job. You are doing all the work around it, okay? Then the next thing you want to do is who is missing from your network. It might be someone from your target organizations. It might be someone in the sector. You've got to find a way of getting close to the people who can help you. Then you have to figure out a way and how to reach them. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then you're going to embed a daily routine of networking habits. And then finally, you have to evaluate your results, because what works for one person will not work for another. There are going to be cultural differences. If you're based in the US, which is much more extroverted society generally than parts of Europe or Asia, then you will have to do what is appropriate for your cultural background and what fits in with the region and the companies that you are applying for. So this is what I call building a circle of success. Some people call it a personal board of directors. These are the people on Team You. They're the ones who are there to help you, that you can go to ask if you have any questions. We all have different needs. So, for example, you might need someone from the sector of your target companies or your target goals. It could be, you might want someone in the sustainable energy, or you might want someone in politics or the institutions. You might want someone who is in advocacy, and this will come in the function. You might someone as HR marketing. Maybe you might want someone in a new geographic location, so they can give you local knowledge and cultural and operational backgrounds. How do things work in that particular location? Then you go to the organization itself. You might be able to get internal support in your own organization, or it might be you might know someone in the organization that you're targeting. And these people can give you practical and career advice. Maybe it's professional expertise that you're looking for. It might be you want to know something about HR or AI or social media. This is about knowledge transfer, okay? And quite often this information comes from groups, professional bodies and associations, and even platforms like LinkedIn, which has masses of really relevant, up-to-date information. Family and friends can also be helpful. Sometimes they can be a little bit too helpful, but even now you might find out, I mean, I've found it, for example, that my daughter's friends and son's friends are now in senior positions in companies. So they can all be helpful in keeping you in touch with what's going on the market and maybe introducing you to people that you hadn't thought of. And finally, particularly in some locations and in some universities and schools, they have really, really big alumni networks. And this is where you get really fantastic information. So if you have gone to a university or a business school or any sort of further education where they have a strong alumni network, make sure that you are connected to that. So where can you network? Offline, obviously. We're not doing a whole load of that at the moment, although that is changing. And, you know, there are possibilities to meet for coffee if you're socially distanced. There are some functions that are opening up if they're being held outside, and some geographies are even opening up with larger indoor events. You have to choose how you feel about that. No one can guide you, but what I do suggest is you follow the protocols for the region, and obviously around your own vaccination state and your levels of vulnerability. And online networking, this is now super important and a tool that you can leverage and use to your advantage. So the most important thing, obviously, through all of this is during COVID to stay safe. So I leave that with you and you can make your own decisions. So online networking is great when you're working remotely. It's great if you're super busy because you can fit it in with the things that you're doing. And very often people, women particularly, say they're too busy with kids and so on. But when my kids were small, I did a lot of hanging around. And now you've got smartphones, so while you're waiting for your little junior to come out of soccer practice or choir or whatever it is, then you can spend a few minutes on your phone. It's great for introverts because it helps you build up that relationship slowly and steadily, remotely, without having that trauma of walking into a room full of people that you don't know. But the most important thing is that it has to be intentional. We spend, for example, 2.5 hours a day on social media, but I would bet a bottom dollar that not all of that is intentional. So you can get caught up in this rabbit hole of wasted time. So you really have to monitor the amount of time and energy you spend on this and make it intentional. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So these are what I call weekly and daily starter nudges. So if you've not been doing anything, this is a great way to start. So on LinkedIn, what I suggest you do is share an article of interest in your sphere of activity or your goal. Okay, I'm a big fan of the number 3 wise men, 3 little pigs, 3 blind mice, 3+. So 2 or 3 times a week is a good place to start. Okay, you do not need to do this every day. So there are some coaches who would suggest that. I'm all about moderation. So just set yourself realistic and achievable goals. I would connect to at least 3 new people every week on LinkedIn. If you could make this 3 new people every day, I would be thrilled. Okay, but let's keep it in the early days at 3 new people every week. And what you can do is you can post, and this is another 3, you can post 3 comments every day on LinkedIn as people go through their feeds. Okay, so you'll see articles of interest, leave a comment. And I don't mean just clicking a like, that is neither here nor there. Write a meaningful comment. And what I do is that when I've registered my comment, what I do is either follow that person and you get a notification, or I even sometimes say, I loved your post and I was so happy to read the content. Could you please connect with me on LinkedIn? Always send a personal note. And then finally, and this is really important, thank someone every day. Gratitude is important. I mean, there's a science behind it. You thank someone, they receive a nice message, they get a dopamine hit, they say thank you back, you get a dopamine hit. If you do it in a public environment, then it's like a group hug. So you can write a recommendation for someone on LinkedIn, you can give them a kudos notification, you can just send an email of thanks, but just build into your routine a gratitude. And make sure that you do this. If you can, copy other people in and share it, then it just makes everybody feel better. And heaven knows in these difficult times, we all need little things that make us feel better. Then finally, we're going to talk about the informational interview. And this is called an informational interview, but it's actually part of the networking process. So let's just do a scenario where you've identified a target company. You've researched on the company page on LinkedIn. You found 2 or 3 people who are active and you're following them. And you might have connected with them on LinkedIn. Okay, so you connect, or you might know someone who knows that person, ask for an introduction. Now, what you can do is you can send this person a message and just say, it would be really great if you could spare 10 minutes of time. I'd like to learn more about your company. I have not heard of any cases where people have been refused, provided that you do it in a discreet and relationship building way. Okay, you don't go to someone you don't know and ask them for a job. So don't ask them for a job. Then you always thank them. If they haven't been able to help you, or you think there's more pieces to add to the puzzle, ask them for a referral. Do you know anyone else who might be able to help me? Or even better, who do you know? And ask them to copy you into their email. And if you want to, they might ask you for your resume or CV. Depending on how the conversation went, you can read the room better. You're the person who's there. Ask them if there's any point sending them a CV. There might not be, okay? But there might be jobs open, or they might be able to point you. But this is where your social skills are really important, and empathy and attentive listening. So make sure that you don't waste their time, you're focused, and you have the right questions prepared, and make use of that time. So just to summarize, you make this part of your ongoing career strategy. Even if you are in a job and you're not looking now, one day you might be. So this is even for people who are not job seekers currently. You should do this if you're preparing for change, especially if you're preparing for change. Bearing in mind, it can take 6 to 9 months to get a job, depending on your level of seniority. You should do it before you have a crisis. Okay, and you can use online to support in real life. And obviously, when we come out of COVID, people you have connected with online, you can start to meet at networking events, in conferences, and so on. So I hope this has been some help. So please go and visit our website. Great podcast called Take Care of Your Cow, with Tanvi Gutta, and she will give you great tips on social media. Check out our e-gazine for daily updates, and we also send out a weekly newsletter, and it's jammed full of tips for people, either job seekers or just looking to stay up to date and progress in their career. So this is a goodbye from me. If you don't know me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a bit of a Twitter addict. You can find me on Twitter. And obviously, if you have any queries, or your company has any queries, then please don't hesitate to get in touch and send me an email. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Next time, we're going to be talking about raising your visibility and different ways you can do that. And thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much.